us here. There we are. Woo! What's up, guys? Can you guys hear the audio? Yes, we are live.
Let me move over a
little
little bit.
Yeah. We are using the boom mic. Can you guys hear us? Let us know.
Be like facing that.
Let me get this kind of plugged in. There you go.
We're using this one or this
We're using this microphone today.
Testing 1 2 3. Can you hear me?
Let us know if you guys can hear us. Yes, perfect.
Audio's good.
Can you guys talk?
Talk.
I don't hear
TikTok.
I don't hear anything because there's no audio. Maybe. I know why. I hate when this happens. It always changes it to the thing here. There we go. Cool.
Got it.
Nice. All right. So
All right.
nice,
Awesome.
Steven. I believe your picture's here. What's your last name, Steven? Because I can't remember.
Eli
We
took
do
it
have
out.
a Steven on there.
Eli took it out right now. He said, "Nah, I'm gonna take Steven's photo out right now." They can see me.
Okay.
Yeah, they can see me now.
I'll be in the blue.
All
All right. So we'll start in about Steven Sanchez. Yes, Steven, you were on there.
All right, brother.
Mhm, You're on there, Steven. So you guys ready or what?
I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready, man.
All right, so let's start. We're gonna cut. And then nothing happens.
I'm disappointed, man. What are you doing over here? Do you know what you're doing?
But it's not doing it. Not cutting. No. Let me do this.
We're having
There.
technical.
Oh, there we go.
difficulties.
There,
Perfect.
that's it.
I don't know
Never
why that
mind.
happened.
We're back.
There we go. There we are.
Oh,
Perfect.
cool.
And anything else we need to add? We need to add our names up there. I
I
was
was
sick.
gonna overlay and everything like that.
All
Keep
right.
That.
All right. So who is this photographer, Mr. Jiplas?
The first photo that we got up today is from MacArthur Beard. I don't know if you're here, bro, but if you are not, I'm sure Eli's gonna post this to his Instagram stories and maybe your website so they can go back and watch it at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
That's my boy MacArthur. Oh, okay, Steven, so you know who it is. All right, awesome. Very cool, brother. All right. Man, I'm going to tell you, let me start off by doing this. I'm going to tell you what I really, really like about the image from the get-go. One of the first things that popped out to me from MacArthur's photo was the colors. You know, you've got that red and the blue, super vibrant, super strong. I think those two colors generally work very well together. I don't feel like they're competing for attention. The other thing that I like, in addition to the colors, is the composition. I always like those like really, really like cool side shots, and when you have some environment in the background, that like to me is something that really, really helps, as opposed to just having like an empty sky, which can work in some situations. Like if you're out like at a location that is known for that, and you're like really focusing, you got a lot of epic clouds in the sky, then sure, that works. But I always like a little bit of environment in the background. So I like that. The other thing that I really, really like is, and this is sometimes that I always trying to go for this, and not always, but when you have a really epic sunset, I do like the little flare that you're getting right there. It's not overexposed or anything like that. It's just got that like right touch. Because I know sometimes when you're shooting into the sun, you can get haze or like that from the flare, the sun flare. So I think you did a really good job of balancing that and still being able to capture that, you know, the sunlight as it was setting. And overall, I think it just adds a lot of value to the image as a whole. Now, the two things that automatically jumped at me when I first saw the photo, number one is the phone.
Oh, phone?
Yeah, there's a phone in the photo. I don't know if that was just kind of like maybe it was your phone or his phone, and you kind of just placed it on the floor as you guys were taking the photo. And trust me, I can totally relate to this because I have done this before. Left something in the photo that wasn't supposed to be in there. It's an honest mistake.
Sure.
I don't think that's anything that's honestly gonna take, and it's actually not that noticeable unless you're really either you know it's there, you're looking for it, or just all of a sudden your eyes just kind of, you know, go to that. But I would be careful if, you know, in the future if you're in the middle of a photo shoot and you don't have a place to put your phone, maybe your back pocket or a cart where you're carrying all your gear. But that was like the big thing that stood out to me. And I'm pretty sure like, you know, Joey and Eli are going to be talking about this in a little bit. But the other thing that caught my attention was the actual reflection of the modifier in the glasses. And Joey and I were talking about this right before we went live. And it's subjective. You know, some people like it, some people don't. To me, I can still see the model's eyes. So it doesn't take away from the image. And I think it actually adds like a little bit of a kind of like a really cool look. You can see like that special little touch to the images. But again, it's I'm not saying that it makes the image bad. I know some people don't like it, some people do. And if you're ever in a situation where you don't want them to show up, I think a nice solution, maybe not the perfect solution, is just raise the light, keep raising it until they're removed from the frames. But other than that, I mean, it's a great image. What do you guys think? I'll pass the pad over.
Let's see. I did want to talk about the modifier. Yeah, because I know when it comes to the reflection being in the glasses, what I've seen for myself in the past is that people have suggested to me that, you know, you could take off the glasses, put them back on, and Photoshop it. But in my experience with that, it doesn't look natural. Like when you kind of try to just Photoshop the reflection out. And honestly, I don't mind it. I honestly don't. It is a little bit kind of in towards the eye a little bit too much for my taste. But what you have to realize for the people who might not like the reflection is that once you start to move the light further away so that it's not in the reflection anymore, then you're changing the light quality completely. So right now, I think where it's at, I actually really, really like how the light is, so I don't mind it at all. I'm trying to think maybe the only thing that I could do to kind of reduce the reflection right away would just to have them just like lower the chin and just slightly turn towards camera right, and then that would kind of just make it a little bit more to the corner. So, but yeah, that I really, like you said before, I like the colors.
The colors are awesome, man.
And I do like the fact that the sun is in the shot. From from whenever I shoot with the sun in the back, I usually try to hide it with the person's back. But I like the fact that it wasn't done here because I can see it. It adds color to the image and it adds a little bit of a flair. And yeah, the phone thing is Now I didn't even see it. Like honestly, I wasn't even focusing. I think my eyes drawn to that sunset and then the colors. Yeah, and the colors more so than anything. So I didn't even realize. But yeah, the phone is something that you'd have to edit out, and it doesn't seem like it's too hard to do so. Yeah, I can't see anything else. He has a good expression too.
Oh, yes. That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly the first thing that stood out to me was the expression. MacArthur, he just joined. I'm just curious, was this a client or what was this for? Because it's a really cool image. The styling is really good. Like they mentioned, I love the primary colors. Awesome. The primary colors are awesome. The placement of the sun is really good. And the lighting, I mean, really, there's nothing that I would improve on the lighting.
The lighting's great.
Lighting's good.
It's just like, you know, what Joey was talking about, you know, the thing with the reflection of the modifier, you know, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me at all.
It's great.
It's a great example of why you would do high-speed sync, you know. This is a good classic high-speed sync image here. Even the post-processing is good as well, you know. So overall, what's up, man?
The only thing, like in terms of,
sorry, Jared.
Like, I don't think it's necessarily post, or maybe it is, but I see like the smallest kind of little hint of a halo on the top of the head, but but in the
I see.
But in the past, I've seen natural halos like that with, you know, completely straight out of camera. Like it's not even an edit thing.
I've had that issue.
It just can be perceived as that. So what I've done in the past, if it were to be more noticeable, then what you would have to do is just burn the little bit of area, and then it brings it back to being not a glow.
This is actually his son, and he said
son.
A shoot was canceled, so he decided to shoot him. And what a great time to shoot, because you
colors
got a good job.
You had a great sky.
Colors are super vivid.
Colors are awesome. Your son obviously has a great sense of style.
So that's
awesome.
something too.
That's awesome.
The style's pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, I'm trying to
Let's
nitpick.
find anything else.
I'm like, what, the crop's too tight. Nah.
Yeah, right.
No, that's
I've had people tell me about that. Like, hey man, your crop's a little bit too tight. You should shoot a little bit wider.
Just make sure we're a little closer to here when you're talking.
Hey, why are you telling me what to do?
Hey, dude, I'm gonna be bossing you around the whole time, man.
No, MacArthur, you did an awesome job, bro. Honestly, I don't other than what I already talked about. I don't know if you were here when I was mentioning the cell phone. I don't know if that's yours or your son's, but just it's happened to me before, so I can totally relate to that. And it's just really hard to see. I know, like if I wasn't actively looking for it, it just somehow my eyes kind of went to that spot.
It blends in the shadow.
It does blend in the shadows. So just FYI for in the future, if you're ever trying to figure out, what can I do, as you probably could have maybe, if it doesn't bother you, that's 100% cool, man. Honestly, I'd be okay with that. But if you wanted to remove it, maybe trying a little bit of clone stamping, or maybe just making that area just a little bit darker, might have resolved that situation. But other than that, dude, fantastic image.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. You can't say anything really too bad about this. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
I will say that I'm really jealous about the colors.
Yeah, it's like super nice.
What do you say? Oh, he didn't even notice it. Don't worry, brother. It happens to me all the time. Something will come out in the image that I didn't want it to be there. Fortunately, we have super awesome tools in Photoshop that will allow us to remove things that we didn't want to be there. But it's awesome.
You guys ready for the next image?
Oh, jeez.
Ready. All right.
You ready?
All right, image number 2.
Image number 2.
Image number 2 is courtesy of Alejandro Soto. Alejandro, I don't know if you're here, man, but thank you for the submission and giving us an opportunity to give you a little bit of feedback on the image. I'm going to go out on a whim here. It looks like you used maybe, I don't know if it was just maybe LED lights or gels. I think it looks more to me like LED.
Can you zoom into the eyes? Maybe that'll...
Yeah. I'm looking at the eyes. I'm zooming in. It does look like an LED source,
I would assume too.
but I'm not 100% certain. But what I will say is, regardless of what you used, whether it was LED lights or gels, like on some type of either a strobe or a speed light, I'm loving the colors here, man. I'm really, really, really loving the colors on this image. It looks like it was a studio shot. Or maybe a shot that was taken, at a location that you made it look like it was a studio. So I really like the, like I said, the lighting. I love the colors. And the other thing that kind of like stood out to me from when I first saw this image was the use of the prop. I like the way that you incorporated the headphones into the shot. It gives your hands something to do. And I think on one of the first YouTube lives, I don't know if it was the critique or another thing, but one of the hardest things for me personally when I'm shooting in studio or shooting really, really tight with a tight crop is hands. How to pose them, what to do with them. If you're working with an outfit that's either outside of your comfort zone, or you're going for a certain type of mood and you don't know what to do with the hands. The fact that I can actually see both hands, that she's kind of holding the headphones around her neck, I think that it just makes the image work all together. The only thing that I would probably say is there's only 2 things that kind of stand out to me, and this is just kind of nitpicking. It's the crop. I don't know if you shot it like that and this is pretty much what it looked like out of camera, or if you intentionally cropped it that way. And again, this is nitpicking, but for me, for the most part, I try to make sure that the limbs are in the frame. Without cropping an area where the joints meet, or if you can bend it, I try to avoid doing that, but sometimes it's inevitable, and I have done it before. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm perfect, because I'm absolutely not. I have done some really crappy shots before. I just don't post them. Put them up. Never bring my card. I just don't post them, man. So that's a very, very small thing, very minor. The other thing is on the eyes. So when you're working with external sources like a strobe or an LED light, I try to make sure that the eyes are, if they're not in the center, if they're, you don't want, I guess the best way to put this is try not to have so much white in the eyes present. And again, this is a little thing, and it also very subjective. I can actually still see kind of like the catch lights in her eyes. But if you were to maybe just have her move her eyes just a little bit, that way you can minimize the amount of white in the eyes. But other than that, I honestly really love this image. Colors work really well. I love the framing. I love that she's smiling. It just kind of adds also to the mood, the story that you were trying to tell with this image. So very good job, man.
Yeah.
What about you, fellas?
I wanted to point out the direction of the blue light because it's been a while since I looked up like formal names for lighting and stuff, but I know there's one where it's called like monster lighting, I want to say, or something like that, something to kind of horror lighting, I think it's called, where a light comes from the bottom and goes up. So that's the feeling that I immediately get right when I see the blue light. So I would say, I would like a little bit more background about how this lighting, the lighting was set up, if there's any purpose for that. But 'cause it kind of feels like a commercial shot, like for the headphones. So I do like that vibe. I'm just wondering about different things like the color choices, if there was any sort of thought process behind that, because of like things like the complementary colors that can work well together. I feel like the highlights on her arm is kind of, I don't know if they were reduced or something, but there's a little bit of discoloration in the arm there. So it might be her
right arm.
Yeah, her right arm. It might be her skin tone with that color choice, so that might be an issue there. But I don't know if it was overexposed and just brought down the highlights. Like Marco said, the crop is also something where I feel like it should have been a little bit more to the left side. So
just a little.
Yeah, just a little bit, and it would have helped. Maybe a slight step back so that you can get a little bit more of the frame. I also see, I think it's the background. On the background, you see the line there. It's the crease. That's something that could have been like removed in Photoshop, different stamp tool, different things like that. But overall, I do like her expression. I do like the key light because it's nice and soft, and it's something that I always really like in an image. And the only thing I would have to say else that I'm seeing right now is the highlights that they're on the side of her finger. They're a little bit bright. I would burn those and maybe brighten up the face slightly, because you don't want the fingers to be the things that are the main attention. You want either the headphones or the face and the eyes. And regarding the eyes, I'm not sure if it's just because of a low resolution photo, but I think the eyes are not in focus. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, it's a really great image, but there's things that you can improve on, and hopefully the critique can help you improve on your next shoot. Yeah.
So for me, I like the use of the blue, and I like how the t-shirt is glowing. Yeah. For me, I kind of wanted to see more blue. I like that you were going for the blue, but I would have loved to see it more sculpted on the face instead of it being like bright highlights over the top of the eye on this little area here near the mouth, the chin. I would have loved to seen like almost like split light where it's like all filled up with the blue light there.
That would have looked really cool.
That would have, yeah. Somebody had mentioned about that he was trying to fill in the shadows with the blue, trying to do the Jake Hicks technique.
Yeah,
Jake Hicks is awesome. Yeah, he's really good. So I do like the use of the prop, like Marco was saying earlier, which is really cool. Using the headphones to give the hand something to do, which is nice. Other than that, the expression's pretty good. The white in the eyes actually doesn't bother me that much in this image. I know Marco mentioned it.
Because like a little bit more color.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a color, and it wasn't like the last image from Critique 2 where eyes were looking a little bit too far off. This one, it's fine for me. But overall, good image. What do you guys think about the cutting of the elbow over here? Is that fine? I know you briefly talked about it. Does it bother you a lot, or is it fine?
Honestly, like when it comes to something like that, it does come down to personal preference. Like if you're happy with the crop, it fits in with kind of what you were going for, the look that you were going for, I'd leave it, and I wouldn't stress out about it at all. But it's just like I said when I was talking about it earlier, when you're cropping images, especially something that kind of has this really kind of like this commercialized look, like you're selling the product. Ideally I want to be able to see all of the limbs if it's a full body shot, or all of the arms if it's a close up or a 3/4 shot. But again, when I was talking about earlier, it just comes down to preference. If you were happy with the way you shot this and this was the way it came out of camera, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about the crop choice because from looking at the image further away, I see that the face and the eyes are like center in the image. So it makes me feel like if it wasn't a crop choice, then it was just kind of subconsciously wanting her face to be in the very center.
Very true.
You have to think about social media and like if you were to crop the photo for different ratios, that you want to get a little bit more of the frame around to avoid cropping off the arm, to have that little bit of leeway in cropping it to be, if you wanted to crop to this point where it's at right now, then you could have done so. But to start off with a little bit more frame around the image, you have that leeway in case you want to do that crop or to crop it for certain like 8:10 or different ratios that's not 4:6.
Exactly. And Joey's right that the choice, the way you framed it, that might have been 100% intentional.
Yeah.
So if that was your creative choice, 100% respect it. And just we're just kind of giving a little bit of feedback of maybe what you can do to change it up in the future. Maybe see how you like that. And if you don't, that's cool. It's all about experimentation. And again, I know that this was a creative choice on your end, but it's just like when it comes to crops, I'm a little bit picky about that, just because I'm picky with myself. So when I get feedback, that's one of the things that always stands out to me.
All right, you guys ready for image 3?
Yes.
3 of 13.
3 of 13.
All right.
Oh, I like this one.
And who submitted this one, Mr. Jiplas?
It looks like it's Tim, photo guy.
Yes.
Is that the business maybe?
Tim.
Tim, photo guy. Okay. Joe, you want to start this one off, bro?
Okay.
I know you really like this one. I like it too. It's fantastic. The lighting is wow.
For this image, because I feel like I don't know, I might be dumb, but is it like it feels like very chef. I don't know, like shirt.
It does.
It could be completely wrong, so that's my bad. But I feel like it's very editorial, very commercial, and I really really like that. Like more than anything, the feeling that I get from seeing that shot is it feels like it's something that could be used for like commercial or commercial portrait, and I really like that. I like that you can see the brick on the right side of the image framing the shot, and he's in the left third. I never framed this way, so I'm like really finding myself appreciative of that crop because I never do it myself, and I actually like it really a lot. I feel like I don't know if it's something to do with post-processing, but I'm like really trying to look hard. I feel like the shadows were lifted maybe a little bit, and it's kind of ruining some contrast that could really be brought to the subject. Contrast is something that I always try to add to my images, so it's something that I'm very subjective and biased towards. So if you wanted it to be exactly how it is in this shot, then totally disregard that information. But it's just something that I'm just trying to provide so others can see that. I do feel like maybe on his skin there's some frequency separation done. I could be completely wrong, but I feel that it's a little soft looking on the forehead and then the cheeks. My thought process regarding that is that maybe the highlights were too strong. Maybe that's something that you try to reduce. And I would typically say to reduce that is to just go ahead and use dodge and burn, specifically burn, instead of using frequency separation, because frequency separation can be overdone pretty easily. And I'm not saying that it's at that level in this shot, but it's something that I'm picking up that could be completely wrong about, but something that I'm just seeing right away. Aside from that, I think the pose is great. I think his expression is great, and the lighting is also great as well. I don't really have anything else other than that to say, but it's a great image. Great image. So I'd be happy taking this shot too.
I'll go next. Give Marco a break because Marco always goes first, so we'll give him a little bit of a break. People were commenting, we're tired of hearing Marco. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, but Joey kind of said everything that I was going to say. I love that it looks very editorial. Definitely seems like this was for a client. Somebody had mentioned, I think Steven mentioned that he loved the bokeh, and that's the first thing that really jumped out at me was that awesome bokeh that he got. And I remember that he emailed me the behind the scenes photo as well. So there was like some stairs off to the left, and they had like the softbox off to the side. So It was really, really cool.
Was this like at a restaurant or is this?
I'm not sure. I would have to look at the BTS.
I keep looking at it and I keep saying, like, hearing what Joey was saying, like, it looks like a chef or something.
Yeah, I think he is. I'll look up the BTS right now.
Freaking awesome.
But overall, I see what Joey was saying about the skin softening. It's either frequency separation or maybe like an action for softening skin. I know there's a lot of different things out there. It doesn't bother me too much, but I would just say just be a little bit cautious and maybe just like if I had an opacity slider, I would probably bring it down maybe like 20 more percent. That effect, just reduce it just a little bit, and I think you'll be fine. Also, good job with the shirt. I mean, whenever you're photographing something white, it's really easy to blow out the highlights. I think there's a couple of areas that are blown out just a little bit, but it doesn't ruin the image for me at all. So overall, love the image, man. Super awesome. Very cool. All right, Jiplas.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this image and everything that we've already talked about. I feel like this is one of those shots where you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and it pops up as an advertisement, because that's what it looks like. And I mean that as a compliment, because the image is so well done. I love the lighting that you used. So looking at the behind the scenes that they sent you, this was a one light shot, right? Is what they used, I'm guessing. I haven't seen the behind the scenes. Okay, so it's a one light setup. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna kind of piggyback on what Joey and Eli already talked about. I do love the bokeh. The bokeh looks awesome. It just kind of gives it that smooth, buttery feel. Like the background is just kind of falling off of the image, and it's just really making him the focal point, which is obviously what you were going for. And I don't know, but I really, really, really love the placement of the hands. I just feel like it's so intentional, but at the same time, it also has that really candid feel. And I love how they're separated. Although they're overlapping, they're also separated, so you can actually see all of the fingers, which is really, really cool. And when I was talking about earlier, sometimes when I'm doing a close-up, sometimes I struggle with the placement of the hands, and I think this was very well executed. I don't know if that was something that you and the model kind of worked to accomplish, but at the end of the day, I think it's fantastic. And that's actually, in addition to the lighting and the composition, it's actually one of my favorite things about the image. The other thing that I really like is I can actually see like that brick wall on the corner of the image. I feel like, the railing is more of like a foreground element, and it just kind of adds a little bit more to the environment. Kind of like, I think it would be a completely different image covering the brick, and the fact that you included it, I don't know, it just kind of makes or adds to the image as a whole, and I really, really like that you did that. And again, talking about the skin retouching, I don't do a whole lot of photos of men. So I'm not very good when it comes to, retouching male model's skin, because I don't really know what to do. I'm guessing at the end of the day, I would probably end up just using dodge and burn and kind of doing that stuff. And I know that when, most photographers, when they're talking about photographing men, I know that they're always talking about sculpting the light in a way where there's a predominance, or maybe not a predominance, but there's a lot of shadow here. I'm actually, there is shadow in the image, and I like that. But I think it's well placed, and it's not overdone. It's not too dark. And I think that's what really, really gives it that editorial feel that Joey and Eli were talking about right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's great. And the tones are great. And just everything just kind of works together and makes this image. So very well done, brother. Thank you.
So who said it? It was Jason said, "Our horizontal image is outdated. I feel like I'm the only person still doing it." What is when was the last time you took a horizontal image, Marco?
Okay, so we were talking about this, I think during our last live session, we were talking about the horizontal type images. It's like I take them in the middle of the shoot, and I see something, but I never work it up. So it's like I just kind of give up. And it's like, okay, like I see this can be really work with like a landscape horizontal type image, but I just give up. So I'll take like maybe 5 or 6 frames, I'll just switch back to portrait style. So to answer the question, I don't think they're outdated. I just think that some photographers are afraid to do them just because, maybe they're not sure how the image is going to come out. Or the one thing that I'm always thinking about is that damn Instagram crop. I'm like, man, if I take a horizontal shot and I really, really, really love it, what am I gonna do when it comes to posting on social media? I mean, Facebook should be fine, but Instagram, you've got that that 8x10, 4x5. So that's one of the things. But when we did the last Q&A session, or not the Q&A, but the last photo critique, episode number 2. We had a lot of submissions that were in the horizontal orientation. And that's why that's kind of as further support that I don't think they're outdated. I just think that there's a lot of photographers that don't do it for maybe out of fear, or maybe it's just not their preferred style.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Horizontal shots, yay or nay?
I think the last one I submitted was at, what is it called? Oh my gosh, what's the photo convention in Las Vegas?
WPPI?
WPPI. Because we don't have like these awesome, beautiful landscapes here in the valley. It's really awesome when you have like these mountains in the background, but I don't know.
We have caliche, vato.
You know what? It sounds like a good photo challenge.
It does.
Shoot horizontal, only horizontal photos. So maybe we'll do a horizontal
image challenge.
photo challenge. And Ashley Jacqueline is in the house. What's up, Miss Ashley? What's up? Ashley. All right. So I think we're ready for the next image. She's like, shut up, guys.
Shut up.
Just do the next photo.
Come on, I didn't hear you come here to hear your crap.
All right. So let's see. Fourth photo. Fourth photo.
Photo number 4 from Gerardo Gonzalez. Brother, I don't know if you're here, but again, thank you for the submission. Man, I think the one thing that popped out of me right away was the combination of the colors, and she's just like falling off the screen, like the compression. I'm guessing this was maybe like an 85 or a 135 shot. I could be wrong, but I just really love the way this image, and I think one of my favorite things as a whole, and this is because I don't do a whole lot of these type of images, is when the model's smiling. So I tend to take a lot of shots where the model has a more serious face, and it's just kind of like, it's also like a preference thing. But I really love that she's smiling, and I think that kind of just fits with the overall area where you were shooting. It looks like it was snowing, or maybe that's kind of the look. I could be wrong. Maybe this is taken like in studio, and it's like a it's like a composite. Like, you idiot.
He's gonna comment. It's like, what the heck are you talking
What the
about?
hell are you talking about, dude? It's the composite. Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. But if in fact it was snowing where you were, there's a lot of light. So I'm guessing that to really help with the lighting, I'm guessing you were probably using something like a 600, the Explorer 600. I could be 100% wrong on that, but and this is always like the thing when I'm in the middle of a shoot. I'm getting a combination of shots. One of the things that I'm always looking for is, and it's not a deal breaker, I've dealt with the situation, but the catch lights. I love that she's looking away from the center, but you still nailed the catch lights, and then they're like perfectly like right in the middle of her eye, which is awesome.
Can I interrupt you real quick,
Marco? No, you can't. So I'm going to
I'll
continue.
wait my turn. Sorry.
No, go for it.
So Ashley,
before I was so rudely interrupted.
Everybody's saying about the smile. That's why I wanted to add.
Awesome.
Everybody's saying the smile's really
fantastic.
good. It's very whimsical. So that's the first thing that jumps out to me, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize. Go ahead and continue, Mr. Jiplas.
You're not forgiven. Should just kick this guy out, this clown out of here. But yeah, Ashley's 100% right. That the smile is what jumped out at me right away, and it's because like 80-90% of my images, they're almost all serious faces. I should really do like more smiling shots now. I should. Yeah, smile and horizontal. That's the challenge, dude. The smile and the horizontal challenge. Those are the only images that you can take in the photo shoot. But kind of going back to the image, like I said, I do love, the expression on her face. I love that it's a smiling image. I love the colors. And then again, being very nitpicky, the crop. So again, this could have been a creative choice on your part, which is absolutely okay. But when it comes to like images like this, and maybe you just wanted to get a tighter shot, and then inevitably that's what you ended up with. I don't think like it takes away from the image, but I would have liked to see something with her hands maybe a little bit higher so you can see them, but still maintaining the pose that she has, and of course the smile, because I think the smile is one of the most important elements of this image right here. And then altogether it's great. And the last thing that I'm going to mention before I pass the mic over, and again, this is being very nitpicky, just the little flyaways on the top for the hair. I know some people are just like, hey, it looks more natural, just leave it. Some others are like, I'm going to remove every single flyaway in the image to ensure that it's 100% perfect. And I think I actually talked about this. I don't remember if it was in the Q&A or the last photo critique that we did. But I like to leave some just because I feel like it gives it more natural feel. Like, I'm never going for perfection in my images. There's always going to be some type of imperfection. And I love that because that makes I feel like that makes people relate more to the model. But yeah, those are the things that I really, really love about this image. What do you guys think?
For me, like, I already know this is repeated so many times already, but the smile is seriously such a it could have been a deal breaker, like when it comes to this photo. If it was a weird expression, then the image would have fall apart real easily, no matter if it's nice lighting, nice composition, nice exposure. So I just wanted to emphasize that again. The catch lights are really nice. I'm just trying to see, like, I'm looking really close at the catch lights, and I see, like, in the very center of them, it's less intense than the outside. So I'm wondering why that's going on. Like, there's less intensity towards the center. So I'm trying to figure out what's the modifier there, and maybe I don't know. I'm just curious about it, just for my own curiosity. But I also like her outfit choice, because if it was just straight up just only black, then that would take away. In my opinion, it would have taken away some of the strength of the image. It's the fact that you can see the skin tone a little bit, just a little bit faint. It's still really nice, so I like that a lot. The only thing I would say is, again, with the flyaway hairs comment, it's a good critique there. For me, I usually leave in a lot, and I'm very selective about the ones that are very distracting. So I see like a couple that I would be like, I'm gonna remove that one and then leave the rest. So that's something to consider. And I think on the very, very top of the image, there's that, I don't know, what is it? It's a snowflake? Snowflake. That's that's kind of just directing my eye towards that a little bit, and I would probably remove that. Aside from that, this is a really nice image. The gradient of the blues is really, really nice. I love that.
Awesome.
I usually go for more richer blues, so that would mean lowering the exposure of the ambient. But I love the fact that it's this color right here, which I rarely see in my own work. So I really like this.
And I kind of see, like, I don't know, like, if maybe it's just my eyes, but I kind of see like red too.
Oh yeah,
yes,
in the trees.
It's like
magenta.
Purple,
like a magenta.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I really like the colors too.
Really cool.
That's my critique right there.
All right. So, as I mentioned,
hey, man, mind if I interrupt you? I'm gonna let you finish, but
so the first thing that jumped out at me, I'm not sure if you guys talked about this or not, was the snow. Do you think that that's added in post, or was it natural snow? I think it's added in post, right?
It could be, but I was gonna say, like, I've taken, like, remember when it snowed in the Rio Grande Valley? Like, it was like once every 50 years. I remember taking photos of my daughter. Okay. And the snow looked like that.
Really? Okay.
So
okay.
I don't know if it's real or if it's a composite.
But we're here in South Texas. We don't know what real snow looks like. We've only seen it like once or twice.
But regardless,
it still looks good. I agree with Joey. The one at the very top is a little bit distracting. I would have removed just that one flyaway on the top of the head, because it is kind of long. All the other ones I would have been fine with, but I would have just photoshopped that out. But that's just a small nitpicky thing. Overall, the wardrobe choice was great. The hair choice was great as well.
The little, like the tiara kind of thing around there.
Yes. And like they mentioned earlier, the smile is what really makes this image come to life by far. So overall, I love the image. I love the lens choice and the aperture choice. I think it worked into your favor here. I think this is a great example of when you really want to blur out the background. So this came out really, really well. So yeah, and that's a good point too, Joy. Is that like if they didn't use that aperture, like a low aperture number, all these little trees back here would have looked like they're coming out of our head, or it would have been more emphasized. You know, here it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me at all.
So you know, that aperture choice really helped out. What lens do you guys think they used? I'm saying 85,
I think
135,
85 or 135.
right? It has to be.
One of those two.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gerardo, I think he follows all of us on Instagram, so I see that name pop up a lot. So, cool beans.
Yeah.
All right.
The last thing that I was gonna say about the image was I love the hair light. You know, the naturally coming from the sun.
Oh yes.
You know, so I think that's probably and I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, feel free to tell me, bro. But I just feel like that's another element that really makes that image, and further adding that separation from the background. It just fits in so well with the vibes that I'm getting from looking at the image. So that's the last thing that I want to say. Great work, brother.
All right, before we move on to the next image, Steven said, please, when it comes to my image, be as brutal as necessary. I want to take as much as I can from this critique.
Okay.
You got it. I want to say, Steven, your image is number 11, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
We took it out. Just
All
kidding,
right,
Steven.
image 5 of 13.
This is
Who
okay.
is
So this is from again Michael Shagan. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that, and if I
Shagan.
did, super duper sorry. I can totally relate. Everybody always massacres my last name. So and now we're gonna jump over to Steven's photo. Just kidding. Okay, so this is Michael Shagan again. Last name is Shagin. All right, so here we go. This is a horizontal image right here.
There you go. I know.
So we were actually just talking about this, and it's the horizontal, you know, landscape kind of like, you know, composition. It works really well. I think when you're doing something like storytelling, like you want to have a narrative element as part of the image, and I think this has a whole lot of character to it. It's just the one thing that I'm gonna say is this is gonna be kind of like one of those things that's right in the middle. It's maybe a gray area, but I don't know if the image is too busy or if it just kind of fits in with everything and the story that you were going for.
I would say that it fits the story. I think that's intentional.
Yeah, so this might have been intentional, which is great. I think you did a great job with the color choices. I see like the yellows from the Post-its. I see the green from the lamp.
They're always making noise.
We're making fun of Eli's neighbors. Yeah, I think they're doing something up there. I would have said something really inappropriate, but I'm going to keep it PG-13. So, like, I really do love the color choice. Like, I feel like if it didn't have the green from the lamp and the yellow from the Post-its and maybe, like, the red from the box of cigarettes, it still would have been a cool image, but I feel like that really adds a lot. Like, just having that extra little bit of color. And I just love, you know, the fact that you were what you did with this image with the coffee beans. It just kind of like there's so many ways to interpret this image, and at the end of the day, you know, what story you were trying to tell, you know, that's, you know, something that one of the reasons why you went and chose all of these props to work with that image. I also like, I guess that's, I don't know if it's my eyes deceiving me, but I kind of see like maybe I don't know if that's the texture, or maybe it is just the texture, but I was going to say it looks kind of smoky in the background.
Yeah.
And maybe that might be just my eyes playing the trick on me. I'm looking at the right side of the image, and it looks like there's texture on that background or that wall in the back. And I think it's what's making it look smoky or hazy is the light coming in through the window. So, you know, maybe it's just my eyes. But like I said, I do love the way that you incorporated all of these things, and this is really hard to do. It just really is, because as I mentioned earlier, I don't do a whole lot of horizontal shots.
The comment there.
I don't do a whole lot of horizontal shots, so when you do it, I feel like it's more of a storytelling element. And I'm not saying that's the blanket rule. I'm just saying that a lot of people that do those type of shots it's because you're trying to tell some type of story, or you want to capture more of the environment by doing that. And the lighting is, I'm guessing that the lighting is coming from the window. I'm guessing maybe you have like an external light, maybe a strobe.
It has to be, because the light's not going to beam
like that.
I mean, it could, but man.
And I was kind of, let me see, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So yeah, it looks like it was, I don't know if there's two lights. Because I see like I don't know if that's probably the same source that's bouncing off the coffee, that little coffee thing. But, regardless, just Kona lighting, I think that you did a very good job. It's not overdone. I don't feel like it's overpowering. Like, it's not too harsh. I think it's just right. And it kind of feels like, it just kind of like the type of lighting that you use, the light going through the blinds kind of just adds overall to the image as a whole. But, I do like it. It's a fantastic image. And, like I said, I think one of the most important things for me is the fact that, it's telling a story. And that's really good. What about you guys? Yeah,
what I'm really trying to focus on is, because I feel like you guys, again, the story's there, and I want to really focus on what is that story. So I'm trying to figure that out. From going off of just seeing the image right now, I'm just feeling like she's working really hard and she needs to stay awake, and that's why she has the coffee there.
Being overwhelmed.
So yeah, like overwhelmed and tired, and she seems to be focused on the coffee. But somebody mentioned in the comment section that I was going to actually point out as well, the yellows of the sticky, was it the notes? I feel like they're a little too saturated, or at least a different shade of yellow, desaturate them, and then make them a little bit more cream colored, or the color.
Do you think they maybe should have used a different color choice instead of yellow?
Yeah.
If
this were the props that they had, then yeah, the color grading would be something that could really help improve the image. I personally never processed my photos. I feel like there's desaturation going on and a little bit of cooler tones going throughout the image. And I've only done that once in the past couple months. And one thing I did intentionally was there was other colors that were showing up too much, that were too saturated, that I brought down the level. I brought down the exposure just a tad bit, and I changed the shade of that color so that it fit with the rest of the color toning that was going throughout the image. So I feel like that's something that could really improve the image right now, just changing the colors of the not necessarily only the yellow, but maybe the green of the lampshade. And I think something that would add a lot of great storytelling to this image would have the lampshade on, because she's trying to see. Because right now, what's the only thing that's lighting her up right now is the moonlight or the street lamp from outside. So I think realistically, the person, if they're working really late in the night, they would have that light on so they wouldn't be forcing their eyes to just strain in the night. So I think that would really help improve the image. So I would do that. And somebody also mentioned something that was really good advice, where they should have the cigarette in the mouth.
I was going to say
that. Yeah, I was like, that's really great.
I think that would have been like, boom, that would have really made the image. And just kind of like when you were talking about the story stuff, I think just out of curiosity, I would have liked to see what the image would have looked like with more of like a matte effect. Kind of giving it that cinematic feel to it. And of course that's a creative choice, but I would just be kind of curious to see what that would have looked like. I think it would have looked really, really cool. It's awesome.
I just want to point out that it's a great composition, in the sense that at first I saw this image and I was like, oh, what's behind the beans? It's kind of distracting. But if you think about it, without that chair showing up behind those beans falling, it would be dark background and you might not see the beans as much. So now I'm appreciative of that choice, and I'm like, oh, it's great. It's a great idea to keep it there so you can see the beans.
Yeah, overall, I'm going to take off the headphones because I hear myself twice, and it's hard to talk when I hear myself twice. But I love the color grading, that desaturated look that Joy was talking about. I would have maybe selected the color of the sticky notes and just desaturated just a little bit more. And as Joey mentioned, a few of you mentioned, the cigarettes would have been an excellent idea in the mouth. ND Moments said, as a wedding photographer, about 85% of your pictures are taken horizontal because of the storytelling aspects. So I think it's funny that this image is horizontal and it has that storytelling element to it. So that's really, really interesting. What I'm curious, if Michael's here, is I wonder what this photo was for. If it was like a concept shoot, was this for like a magazine? Because it's really interesting. It's different. When I saw this image, when he had emailed it to me, I knew immediately that I wanted to include it because it was just so different than the stuff that we see. So it was really, really cool. I like the use of all the props. This one, you clearly had to think everything through, of the placement of every little item. I think Joy had a great point of having that lamp on. And I think that there was a good opportunity to make this image feel a little bit more dramatic. I think if they would have like controlled the light with like a grid, I think it could have been really cool to really bring out some shadows, because it looks like there was a light above to light up the overall table, and then there was a light coming in from the camera left. Yeah, because if you look at her hand here, you can see that there's some light on the top, and there's this light here coming there. Yeah, and you can even see the way the shadows are coming down right here, that there was a light coming from above.
Or from this side, because you see how it's hitting the phone.
Yeah, so I'm curious how many lights they used on this.
Yeah.
But overall, I love the image. I appreciate the effort in this image. I mean, it's super, super cool, very different, and
a lot of thought went into it.
Yes, a lot of thought. Super cool.
Yeah, I want to say one thing before I forget. One thing I think would help, like you said, with the contrast with a different modifier. I feel like some dodge and burn would really make this image look really nice. Like going heavy-handed on it would be really, really interesting to see that extra contrast. And the other thing I wanted to mention before I forget is, if I had to make it a creative choice after the shot was taken, I would say for the person in the photo, the lady there, process of her being tired would be really, really cool to her face to bring that story together really, really well. So I think that's something that would be really cool. So.
Okay, cool. You guys ready for 6 of 13?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second. 6 of 13. I'll start this one, Marco, to give you a little bit of a break, since you usually start off. So I'm going to start off this one. Ooh, this is from Daniel Salaya. That's what I'm going to guess.
He's like, you idiot.
Well, I'm jealous of the background. Those colors are rocking, man. The background colors are super cool. This is obviously a nighttime photo, so this looks like it's a one light setup. You can tell they had the light camera left, top.
Camera left.
I don't know if it's a continuous. That's what Joey's saying.
Seeing a lot of color, I think.
Yeah. Well, what I'm wondering too, if they have a 2 light setup, because they have blue light coming back here, so they maybe had a 2 light setup.
Yes.
Are you on this CC? Yes, sir. You are.
Bow.
How do you pronounce that?
Bow.
Bao? Yes, Bao. You are on here, man. Okay.
Better be.
So the composition is good. Love the background. I think for this photo, I don't know if you knew that background was going to be that colorful, but I would have loved to complement that background with a wardrobe choice with color. I think that would have been really cool. Also, the only thing that I would have maybe incorporated was do something with the hands, because right now they're just she's just standing there and her hands are just flat down. I would have at least maybe told her to put her hands in her pocket, or maybe just cross them over or something. But that's the only thing that I would say that bothers me, is that maybe next time just try to have the hands do something instead of them just kind of resting down. Other than that, it's pretty solid. Looking at the post-processing on the skin, looks good to me. I don't have any issues with it at all. Lighting looks good for me. I can't tell if the hands are cut off at the bottom, but
Turn it.
If it feels that way, I think it's
yeah.
something to
yeah. Can't. Oh yeah. Cool.
A little bit.
Yeah. So I'll move it on to Joey. Give Marco a break for going first all the
I'll
time.
be right back, guys. I'm gonna go take a nap.
The first thing I'm seeing with this image is that I actually do like the main light, the whatever, however it's modified and how close it is, and how it looks on the skin. I like that. The second thing I'm seeing is, because I'm seeing lighting first. I would say, what was the reason for the color that you used for the rim light? And I was curious about that. because I think it if it's complementary colors, like when it comes to like warmer colors and then cooler colors, I don't necessarily feel that in this image. So that's something that I would like. I'm just going based off of like my gut reaction to this image. I probably would vary the color choice of the rim light. The second thing I'm seeing is that her expression, it's pretty nice, pretty good, but it could I feel like it could be better. Like if she were to go more heavy-handed with serious with like I don't know Tyra Banks that smize or yeah that smize or just going with a nice subtle smile. I think that would be really good because right now it kind of feels like she's like caught off guard, and that kind of sounds harsh, but it's just something that you can definitely improve on, and I would suggest trying to work more with expressions in the image because it could be improved a little bit. And in terms of the background composition, I do feel like half of the image has color, half of it doesn't, and I do like that. But I think if you were to experiment and go ahead and just get at a lower angle so that more of that color is behind her and not this what's it called, negative space going on, that would be interesting to see. Because the exact opposite direction, if you were to go ahead and shoot at a higher angle and have just straight up black behind her, it would kind of just bring down that image entirely. So let's see how it would be when you go at a lower angle to get more color in the background. Aside from that, I think Eli had a good critique on the choice of the arms being how they are. Varying them up, just seeing the hands would be a lot nicer. And the wardrobe too. Because right now it feels like she's like warm, and for some reason I feel like that vibe doesn't mix well with the carnival feeling. So I feel like she's in the winter, but yet she's in this carnival scene. So it kind of clashes. But aside from that, that's not to say that this is a bad image at all. Don't take that in any sort of way. It's a great image, but I'm just trying to find things to help you out.
Of course, man.
Yeah. So I think Eli and Joey pretty much said everything that I was going to say about the image. I'll get the obvious ones out of the way. I think the lighting is fantastic. I would be kind of curious now that Joey mentioned it, whether it was actually a strobe or a continuous light source. It's not a super important, light is light. So regardless if you use the continuous light or a strobe, it doesn't really matter. I think at the end of the day, I do think you got the image that you were shooting for. And the second thing that I absolutely love about the image is just the color. What are these things called? Ferris wheels? No, the Ferris wheel something else.
What, I know the carnival. What is it called?
We'll just call it the carnival. The carnival. I'm totally making stuff up. But I just love the. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I just love the colors coming from the Ferris wheel in the background. And I totally understand. I know why you framed it this way, and I know that she had to be a pretty good distance from the carnival to be able to get that type of shot or to get that much of the carnival in the image. I love the bokeh. There's just a lot of bokeh to work with. I'm definitely thinking this is probably like a 50 or an 85 shot. You got some really cool color in the background. I'm not going to say, I don't want to sound too harsh, but just kind of, going on top of what Eli and Joey said, I do feel like there's a really big disconnect between what the model is wearing and where you took this shot. I feel like, she's jumping into winter with like a fur coat, yet she's at a carnival in the summer or the fall. Yeah. So I think there's a disconnect, not only with the wardrobe choice and the location that you were shooting at, but I think there's also a disconnect between the expression on the model's face and where she's at. For the most part, I think when you think of a carnival, you think happiness, you think smiling, you think smize.
It's a good point.
So I just think she's, and this has nothing to do, with anything other than I don't know if this was kind of like one of those candid shots that you were maybe trying to go for, but I do feel like maybe the expression's a little bit vacant, and it's just and it's, again, I'm not trying to be harsh or say in any way that the image is bad. I just feel like there is a disconnect between these two elements, and shooting at carnival presents its own challenges because you have to deal with people, unless you go in the middle of the week on a day that nobody's going to be there. But I totally understand going from that. But the other thing that I was also going to say is also like what we were talking about earlier, like negative space. I know that since you were kind of far away, I don't think that maybe shooting from a higher angle would have worked. It would have been either lower, or maybe you would have maybe tried to introduce another light source here and maybe get some gel hitting. I don't know, just an idea. I don't know if it would have worked. It might not have, but I feel like this is just a little bit too much void for me. But other than that, I do love the colors. I feel like the skin retouching is very well done. It's not overly processed. It's not that plasticky porcelain type of skin. I do love that the second light source coming from there. I'm guessing it was maybe like a speed light with a gel. It's just kind of further adding that element of like, hey, I'm at a carnival, and when you're at a carnival, you see a lot of vibrant colors. But great job, man. I think you got the image that you wanted. So very well done, and thank you for letting us give you some feedback, man.
Yeah.
Okay. You all ready for the next one?
Número 7.
We're on 7 of 13. All right.
Oh, this one.
Okay. Who is this, Mr. Jiplas?
This image was submitted by James Bolden.
Bolden.
This image looks like it was taken in like Vegas, where the
the salt
flats
or something.
so that's just kind of like the feel that I'm getting for it. Of course, I'm sure Vegas is not the only place in the world that has this, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. So there's a lot of things that I like about this image. I'm gonna start with the pose from the model. I know especially when you're dealing with a wardrobe like this. I know when she's wearing those high heels or those long boots that have a long heel. I know sometimes you're limited in what you can do in posing because obviously you don't want maybe to have her standing 100%, but you also don't want to sit her on the floor. So I think the use of a chair was a fantastic decision on your part. And I just love the pose. Here's the one thing that I really, really love about this image. I can see all the body parts. I can see both legs and I can see both arms. Granted, the right hand, this is again being very nitpicky. It's going through her hair, so you really can't see the hand. But that doesn't bother me at all because it's part of the pose. And it's really kind of hard to do that pose without the hand disappearing to some degree. I just love it. I just love the way all the joints that can be bent are bent. I love how the legs are separated. In relation to how she's actually sitting in the chair. I actually love the way her hands a little bit back. The only thing that I would probably might have changed up a bit is her left hand. I feel like the hand is maybe facing right towards the camera. It looks like she's a little bit uncomfortable. So I would have maybe moved her hands in a way where it looked more natural, as opposed to the way it does in this image, which it kind of looks a little bit forced. But at the same time, it's she still looks pretty comfortable. I love that she's kind of bent into the chair and not just kind of like a flat back. I just kind of just adds overall to the mood, and I just really love the choice of the wardrobe. It's like kind of like she's wearing like kind of like a black, like maybe like a one piece, maybe like a I don't know, like a it's like a one piece outfit, but she's also got that really cool jacket, and then she has those awesome boots. The other thing that I like about the image is I love the lighting. Like I just love the way I love, of course, your key light is good. I think it probably could have benefited from being slightly brighter, just by a little bit, maybe by a stop. And I do notice that I think on the skin tones, and I think I know the answer to this, but I feel like the skin tones on the legs and the face are a little bit more natural versus the left hand, which looks a little bit more red and purple, and that might have been because of the circulation in her hand, and the placement. So that would have been something that maybe use like a selective color adjustment to, or a color balance, and maybe use a layer mask to kind of bring back the natural color and try to blend everything all together. But that sky is like super duper awesome. It's you had an epic, dramatic sky, which is what we hope for when we're trying to do a shot like this. We don't always get it, but I think it really works in this case. and I just love like the way the light is hitting. I don't know. Do you think there's like a second light source there, or is it probably just coming from the sun? Right,
Where?
from the sun. Like the way it's just hitting.
Yeah.
There on the floor.
I think it's
Probably just the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way because it just really defines, the texture on the floor, and I think that also adds to the overall image. But I love the color grade. It's a very neutral. It's a very clean shot. And great work, man. James, thank you for submitting it. I love this one.
Cool picture.
Jeep hours. Let the others talk.
Sorry. Sorry, bro. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now because Jason wants me to shut up. He's like, hey, man.
I'll be quick about mine.
I'm gonna go take a break, guys.
I do
I'm gonna go
really
wash my
love the
hands.
lighting. The lighting's really excellent, honestly. But like I feel like Marco said, if it were brighter, that would be interesting. I'm just
Just a
curious
little
how further away it was, because you could might have bring it just a little bit closer and still gotten the same thing. And I would actually be interested in seeing that, because I would really love to see how the lighting looks super, like extra soft with her, because her legs and all that stuff make it glow looking. The things I have to say about the composition is, well, I actually really like the exact composition. I like the fact that she's right there, kind of like in the horizon area, because I felt like if her back and everything was like if you shot at a lower angle, then you had more sky behind her, I think it wouldn't be as strong. And same with the opposite. If you had it a little bit higher with more desert behind her, then that wouldn't be as strong. So I really like the composition as is. I do want to say that I feel like there's a vignette that was created here, and I would like to see it like lessened up, because I do feel like there's like a dark patch of
That's a good point.
exposure
Yeah,
here
I
going
can
on
see
in the image, and I want to see it kind of more evenly spread out. And maybe in the future, if you want to go ahead and just like maybe reduce the ambient instead, that would be something that would kind of make it look more natural in terms of darkening that ambient. Because right now I still feel like the ambient or the vignette is kind of heavy-handed. I do like the pose, like Marco said, it's really excellent. I was gonna say the same thing about the hand. The fact that you want the hand to be not like forward facing, but a little bit at an angle towards the side of the hand, that would be something that'd be interesting. Maybe even just as simple as holding the jacket a little bit. And I'm being extra nitpicky here, but like maybe having her body turned a little bit towards the side, so you can kind of see at least a little bit of the curve of the side of the body. That would be nice. And maybe brushing the hair a little bit from the front, just a little bit off to the side. So, and then the last thing I would have to say is something, again, that's something that's nitpicky and something that I would actually do in post, is straighten out the boots a little bit. This is just entirely a me thing. I would go ahead and just like make the boots look more like they're skin tight, I guess, like kind of in line with how her leg is formed. So that's something that I would personally do. Not necessarily on the top of the boot, but maybe the sides. But again, that's just something that I would do just because it bugs me. But yeah, it's a really great image. It honestly is a great image. And that's pretty much everything I have to say about it. There you go.
Let me see. What do we got here? All
You like
right.
fancy.
Let me make sure my voice. Okay, there you go. My voice. I had to mute myself so that I don't hear my voice twice. So, Jason, going back to Marco when he talks, I actually like that he talks a lot, because I have to actually set up this vMix stuff, like all these chat things coming up, the picture-in-picture. So, like, I actually like that he buys me time to set up everything. So, Marco, I love you, man. Don't worry, dude. Don't worry, man. Okay, I know Jason was just joking, by the way. But anyways, I love the use of the prop. The chair really helped you here. It helped her get into the pose. I like the fact that one of the legs is raised up so that both legs weren't on the ground. I think that would have kind of maybe not made the pose flow as well as it could have. Yeah. And I love the jacket, man. I wish I could get that jacket. That jacket's awesome. And I love that brownish jacket. It's really, really cool. The shoes are awesome. The one thing that stands out to me, and I don't think Marco or Joey talked about it, that I would have maybe just put a little bit more attention to would be the hair. I feel like the hair is kind of like right on the chest area. It's kind of just a little bit, not distracting, but I would have just cleaned it up. Maybe just had her kind of brush it onto like one specific side, so it can, because you got some coming on the shoulders and you got some coming down here and another one there.
Was talking about. I think He mentioned it.
He mentioned it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, on this side right here.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that I would have maybe just put a little bit more attention. But it's easier said after the shoot because it happens to me too. You shoot out there and you're in the moment and the adrenaline's kicking in, and then the sun is, sometimes the sun is there for like 5 minutes, and you're just literally just shooting and shooting and shooting because you got to get that sun. So that probably was what happened there. And I love the mention of the hand too, that it was coming straight forward. I would have just, turned it a little bit to the side. But overall, I love the image, the exposure of the background. I actually like the exposure. I think that one of you guys mentioned they would have brought it a stop brighter or something like that. I like it like that. I actually would have just left it like this, at least for my style. And I like the aperture choice. I can tell that you use like aperture 2 or 2.8. You didn't go the 1.4, 1.8 route because you would have blurred out all that sky detail. And you get all of that cool pattern on the ground as well. So the aperture choice really helped you here. Really kind of include the entire landscape. So yeah, super cool.
It's a good image.
I'm going to zoom in. Let me see. It looks like there is one blemish spot, but it's fine. He left it there. There's a little blemish right there, but that's an easy fix.
Yeah, I think
but overall,
because I see on the top of the leg now that you zoomed in, like it could be like they darken the background, and on the top of the leg is a little bit of the burn that they applied to the background, and but yeah, again, this is like nitpicking hardcore. I'm like zooming in a lot.
Pixel peeping.
Yeah, I'm pixel peeping.
Pixel peeper.
Yeah, but it's a great image. It's a really great image.
So I got a question for you guys. Do you think, just out of curiosity, do you think the wardrobe could have maybe benefited from a little bit more color, or do you like it the way it is?
I like it because it matches the tones, the
Yeah.
earth tones.
Oh, I didn't even realize it's like bluish and then gold. Like it's like that complementary color.
Those two colors work really well
looks really
together.
nice. Super awesome.
Well, awesome work, James.
Yeah, Bolden.
All right.
James Bolden.
All right, next image, boys. Ooh.
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, what are you trying to say? The other ones were good?
I like this one. This one.
Image I like.
This is an interesting one.
Yeah. Since I talk too much, I'm gonna say this is a great image. Who's next?
Good image.
Good image. Great job, brother. Okay, so the creator of this one is Paulo Fernandez. Man, there's so much that I like about this shot. It's a close up, but one of the things that stands out, of course, that golden bokeh in the background that's coming from the lights that from the location that you were shooting at. It looks like it might have been like a bar or some type of a little bit more of an upscale type restaurant. But I just love, and I just really think, and to me, I used to be like a type of photographer that used a lot of blurring out the background, getting that really awesome bokeh. But for me, I don't do that a whole lot anymore. And it's not to say that type of photography isn't good. It is. I love to do it. I love doing bokeh shots. I just tend to shoot a little bit wider now, but it just, to me, I'm trying to look at the bottom of the photo. I love the lighting. The lighting is super duper soft. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. Just to kind of see. I don't know. Do you think is this a natural light photo?
I would say natural.
It looks like a natural light photo. So. Yeah. Well, if this is a natural light photo,
comment. Let us know.
Yeah, I know, right? Just even if it wasn't a natural light photo, if it was a strobe, either way, it's a fantastic image. I love her expression. The expression is awesome. I like she's got blue eyes. She's looking directly into your soul when you look at this image. I am kind of curious to see if the image would have looked a little bit more moodier if her lips were a little bit more separated, either parted like in the middle, kind of just having that really moody expression. That's maybe like a very minor detail. I love the hands. Like the hands, like they're just kind of resting against her face, but it's not too, or they're squishing on the face.
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
It is. This is a hard pose to do because a lot of times when you're communicating with the model and trying to direct them, hey, this is what I have in mind. This is what I want to do. Sometimes they go and they push into the face a little bit too much. But I think it's just the right amount of The placement is great. You can still see, the definition in her cheeks. You can see both eyes, and I love how their fingers are crossed. It's kind of like she's just, hey, what's up? I'm chilling here. And it's beautiful. I love the colors. I think the colors together. I see some. I think the yellow is the kind of like the primary or the color in the image. I'm seeing a lot of yellow, including from like the skirt or the pants that she's wearing. Like a brownish yellow type thing. And then of course I see some blue too, some blue hues in the background. So I'm guessing that's the kind of color scheme that you were going for, the blues and the yellows, which is a very popular color scheme. I don't know if this part right here, I don't know if she was wearing like a yellow top. I'm guessing she was, and then she kind of had like a like
the baby's here.
Like
What's up, Ashley?
like a black I don't know, long sleeve shirt or maybe something like that. I don't really know, or maybe just my eyes playing a trick on me. But honestly, I think the only thing that
It's her skin color.
it could have been. It could have been. That's right. It could have been the skin, her skin, like the type of outfit that she's wearing. The lights just falling on her and creating that yellow, kind of like skin tone or whatever. I don't know. This might just be me, but I feel like the top area right here is a little bit brighter than her face. So like when I was looking at the image, I loved the bokeh, but I felt like my eyes kind of immediately went to that top part of the image. So it's not the bokeh. I just think it's a little bit brighter. So what I would have done is maybe use like just a layer and maybe kind of curves adjustment and then make it a little bit darker and then mask it. Just to kind of make sure that, the brightest part of the image is her face. And then that way the viewer's eyes go directly to there. But at the end of the day, I love it. It's such a fantastic image. I feel like I don't know if you were shooting through something. I see some foreground elements there too. I don't know if that's a chair or a jacket or something.
A jacket on a chair.
It could be. It could be a jacket on a chair, but it just looks like you were shooting through something. I kind of get that awesome foreground element, but keeping in mind all those things that I already talked about, I just feel like this image is great. I really, really love it. Fantastic work.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
And hopefully I didn't talk too much. Jason's like, man, shut the hell up.
Don't worry about it, dude. I like
shut
you
the
talking.
hell up.
It seriously, dude, it helps me out so much because I have to get everything like labeled here, and it's a lot, dude.
Nice.
So I really, really love this image, and the first thing that would come to my mind to change in exposure wise, whenever I edit my pictures, I always want the face to be the subject to be the thing that stands out the most. So I agree with Marco about the exposure being a little bit brighter towards the top of the image, but again, that's something that's completely subjective. The main thing that I was curious about is because I don't know if it's a plate with napkin on it or it's a cup or something.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a plate with a
I would
napkin.
love to have seen that moved away so you can see more of the browns of that counter to see how that would have looked like, and maybe move whatever that's on the bottom of the image. I would move it a little bit more forward so that you can still see it, but it's less in the image, so you can again see the browns of that counter, because the browns of that counter and the counter itself are going to provide more leading lines that bring your attention to the subject. And you might also have gotten a little bit of that color from the lights on the top in the reflection of that counter, which might have been interesting to see. I was originally thinking that chair or whatever, that jacket on a chair.
I couldn't tell what
Yeah,
it
it's a
was.
chair or a jacket on a chair.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe to completely move it away so you can see more of her waist and her side. But I actually like it being where it's at. So it's something that you got to think about more.
You're cool, Jason.
We're just messing with you, Jason.
Just messing with you, bro.
She reminds me of the girl from Westworld.
She does,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
She's got that look.
The only thing I would probably change after is maybe her shoulder. If you were to just kind of just bring it back, I'm curious to see how that would have looked like. And maybe it would be a case of the light hitting too much on the side of her where it creates like an overexposure, too much of a highlight. So I actually do love the pose as is, but I'm just curious how that would have looked like with her arm a little bit pulled back. But yeah, really excellent image. from the side, when I was seeing the iPad, this image on the iPad on the table here, I was thinking that the exposure of the shirt that she has on was a little bit too dark, so it kind of looks like a block. But seeing it in a better exposure now, I feel like that's not valid anymore. But I would also like to see a little bit more of dodge on the arm to kind of emphasize the depth of that arm and kind of reducing the contrast just a little bit, so you can see more of the shape of the arm and the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point.
Ashley brought up a good point. She said all of the stuff in the foreground
Opposite of what I said.
makes it look natural and personal. But that's what's fun about the critiques. Remember that everybody sees things different. So you have to keep an open mind for this. And it's like everybody's going to open it to interpretation.
And I don't know if he like intentionally shot through like that. He might have.
Mm-hmm. You know what? It kind of does help in a way that it blurs out so she really pops, because all of this is out of focus, and it does help. I do like the fact that Joey brought up the good point here about the chair. I definitely agree with him on that. Moving that out would have brought more color on what she's wearing here, and then added more shape to the body. Overall, the colors is what really stands out to me. The background, that golden tones, those brown tones, and I think he even included it in the skin tones. Like, it's kind of like he did a good job of color grading the image to kind of make it match and look at very cohesive.
Yeah, monochromatic too. Cause, like, you got the
Yes.
yellows and the...
Somebody had asked if I sell actions, and I do. And it's funny because this guy Paul, he actually, a part of the email when he emailed this to me, he did say that he did buy my actions and he used them for this, and he was saying that they helped them out a lot for his editing. So I'm super happy that I can tell that his editing is improving a lot. Good job with the face too. Like, it's just perfect. I think the earrings is what really adds that nice little finishing touch to the image. The color in the eyes are really nice. He didn't push the eyes a lot. He just left it very natural, and I think he did a great job with that. The lens choice, I've talked about this a lot today. This is where the lens choice, man, that blurred out bokeh, man, it has to be an 85 at 135, 1.4.
It's definitely a telephoto. Though.
It's definitely a telephoto. I know Marco mentioned this at the beginning. I would have maybe just separated, if I could, of course, again, I would have just had her separate her lips just a little bit more. I know, right? Liquify. What else was I going to mention? The hands. What do you think about the hands, Marco? You're a big hands guy. I like the hands. I think that this is a very difficult pose to do.
It is.
And it looks very natural. What do you think, man?
Anytime you're working with the hands to the face, it's difficult. Because what I was saying is, a lot of times when you try to communicate that idea, to the model, sometimes they go and just, building the pose takes work from both of you. So sometimes they might press in a little bit too more and squish the cheek. But I think she's very relaxed. It doesn't look forced. I love the way, like I said, the hands are just kind of crossed.
It's so hard.
It's hard
to do.
So it looks like a simple pose, but this is a really, really hard pose to do. And just because when you're working with hands that close to the face, it can be. And I see something about
So let's talk about this.
Okay.
Jason's talking about the ring. It seems like it's the focal point. What do you guys think?
I do see that it's bright, it's white, but honestly I don't feel like my eyes never went directly to the ring.
Me neither.
I don't know if that's just because, and like Eli had mentioned this a little while ago, is we all see the image differently. Our eyes go to different places. For me, the first place my eyes went was on that top left corner, which is brighter than her face. But honestly, if that was something that he felt like the I think it's Paul, right? Paulo. Yeah. If he felt like maybe the ring was taking away a little bit more attention from the model, that's an easy fix in Photoshop. To darken it a little bit.
Maybe like swap it for another ring.
Could be another color. Even another color.
Gold.
Maybe a gold that would have fit in with the overall color grade of your image. Like I said, I do see some blue hues in there. So I know that's kind of the color scheme that you were going for, but of course the predominant color is yellow. Given the outfit choice, her hair and all that yellow that you see in the image as a whole. But the ring honestly doesn't bother me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's good.
It's good, man.
It's a good valid opinion.
It is.
But it doesn't bug me.
It's one of my favorite images that we've seen so far today.
Yes,
One of my
definitely.
favorites. Cool. So I'll start off the next image. We're gonna go to image 9. Ooh, this is a local photographer. This is Adrian Hernandez.
He posts a lot of memes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
a lot
I was like, why is Joey laughing? I was like, what?
Because he posts so much
Yes.
memes on Facebook.
When he posted this, let me mute myself. It's hard to talk and hear myself twice. When he posted this, I messaged him. I was like, dude, how did you do this? This is super cool, man. And super awesome. Obviously, the triangle is photoshopped in. I like it. I think he did a great job with that. But I don't know how he lit this up. I guess that's like glow in the dark paint or something. I don't mean to sound stupid.
Blacklight.
Yeah, super cool, man. I love the use of the paint. It's very different. I haven't seen people do this lately.
Awesome.
It's very different. And I respect the fact that this is done indoors, obviously, or maybe at night, but it's really, really cool. I would have loved to see an addition of like a kicker light in the background to add that nice extra separation light. I'm looking at the eyes and I don't see the catch light. Not that you need a catch light. I don't think that it's hurting the image here, but I'm just, taking an extra little look here. The one thing that I would have changed is the hand that has the fingers coming up. So her right hand, the fingers coming up. When I first saw this image, it looked like she was throwing the middle finger. She was like, phew, So I would have just like kind of had them just kind of bent just a little bit. But overall, man, I love the damn paint, man. I keep looking at this image and I love the freaking colors. I almost want to steal your idea. And I told you, Adrian, to invite me if you do this again, because I want to do this. This is like super cool, man. And like I said, I love the use of the triangle, man. It's super cool, man. Very different than what we've seen so far in these images.
Is it like one black light? Because like it
I'm
feels
not
like
sure, man.
Yeah. Oh, because I'm seeing like the color there and then the color here.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming. What do you guys think? So, what do you guys think? Is this flash or is this LED lights or like continuous lights?
Honestly, if I had to guess, I think it's a continuous light. I think that's what it is.
Continuous. You think so?
And a black light.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell us your secrets, Adrian. Why are you holding back, dude? What the heck, man?
Stop posting memes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all gonna message you right now. Hey, bro, why are you holding out?
I know, man. But I love the image. What do you think, Mr. FJH?
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm a sucker for extra soft lighting, and that's not going on here, but I don't mind it at all. Because the lighting, the way that's modified, it really works well with the drama of the image. And I actually like her pose, and I like the fact that she's looking in specifically where she's looking at. Only thing I would probably adjust is maybe lowering the light so you can get the tiniest bit of catch light in the eye. Aside from that, I'm like really drawn to this image. Maybe a little bit of like an extra kicker towards the back of the hair so that it doesn't fade so much in the background. But aside from that, I really, really like this shot. It's very interesting. I can't really say anything much more than that because it's something that's not my element, not my familiar comfort zone. So, but yeah, major props for this because it's something that is pretty unique.
Yep. Puro RGV.
Puro 956.
Go.
Yeah, I can tell, Adrian, that there's a lot of thought went into this image because I know when you are going to composite something into a shot, you gotta already see it in your mind how it's gonna look, and I struggle with that. Like I always have this. I see like the photographers that are so good at composite work. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that because I've always wanted to do like a Pokemon shot and kind of incorporate like the Pokemon in there, but I'm not very good at composites. So I can already tell just looking at the image, and when I first saw it, I know that a lot of thought went into it from the pose, the lighting, and one of the most amazing things about this image is like the paint, the glow in the dark paint that you used. And I feel like if that was missing, the image would be completely different.
True.
He clearly went into this shit knowing he was going to do that.
Yeah,
so it was very thought out.
That's why I know that it was well thought out. You saw it in your mind. You went out there and you created the shot. And it's very good. And I think Javi was saying that this is probably like an LED light, which it could be. And at the end of the day, I too I tend to be, and I'm really hard on myself about when it comes to things like this. Like when I don't get the catch lights, I hit myself
Yeah.
So I would have like, even if it would have been like like Joey was saying, like this very subtle little catch light, that would have been awesome. But it's not a deal breaker. I don't feel like it takes away from the image. But it would have been cool to see that, which I know it's hard to do because of she's not necessarily looking up, which is a lot easier to get the catch lights. She's kind of looking maybe a little bit straight forward and a little bit down, kind of based on her pose.
Yeah.
But the color's fantastic. You did an excellent composite work with the image. I love the expression on her face. It just fits like with the overall kind of like the mood, the vibe that you were going for. And the more and more that I look at it, I keep thinking about what Eli said about it. Does look like she's throwing the finger. I'm like, hey, dude, why are you throwing the finger up, man? But it's just, the hands, it's just, that's a very minor thing. But other than that, dude, I really love the colors. I'm also kind of like with FJH here. This is outside of my comfort zone. So I can't give you the most constructive criticism, but I do like what you did with what you used and the way that you brought it all to life in post-processing. So, very good job.
Wow, nice critique.
Gerardo just joined.
What's up, bro?
He says, sorry I'm late. I just watched my critique. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best.
And it was the semi.
We didn't get the full comment there. It was a Samyang
85. Yes, the snow was added in post. Okay, so it was in post.
I caught you, Gerardo.
Gerardo.
In post? Realistic.
Hey, bro, what are you going to do, man? Eli's calling you out over here, talking smack about your composite work. So... Yeah,
next.
All right. I think we're going to go ahead and end the live here because the next one is just... I'm not feeling it. I'm just kidding, Steven. Image number 10 is from our friend Mr. Steven Sanchez. Still here? He's like, I'm gonna take it off, man.
I don't know.
He's waiting for his own picture.
Steven better be here.
Well, we're gonna
maybe he went on a coffee break or something.
Yeah. I was gonna say something.
I already know what you were gonna say. Okay, Steven, I hope you're here. You're still here, brother, because the moment has arrived. We've gotten to Steven Sanchez's photo, and we're about to...
He's here. Okay, remember he said he wants honest feedback.
We're about to tear this one apart, bro.
We're going to tear him apart.
I'm going to start off by saying there's nothing I like about this image, Steven. I don't know what you were thinking when you took this photo. I would consider maybe exploring other alternatives.
Sorry, Corey.
He's like, man, the hell with this. I'm out of here. No, I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding. Okay, so let me start off. The one thing that of course stood out to me, and it's kind of like one of the most obvious things. It's a close up, and even like with me with close ups, I tend to struggle a little bit because I don't know what is too close or what is too far away. So sometimes I play it safe, and then I never really get the image that I had in my mind. So I've been practicing with my close ups, trying to get better. But more power to you, brother, for working with a close-up shot like this, because I know they're hard, and you just trying to figure that out. So one thing that really stands out to me is the choice of the wardrobe. I really love the crimson kind of maroonish tones, or the colors that are present in what she's wearing. I don't know if this is something that you selected in conjunction with what her thoughts were when you guys were planning the photo shoot, but I feel like the colors in her sweater match so well with like the shade of her lipstick, and those two kind of just combine really well. And I know when you're doing a close up, you're not gonna really your goal is not really to focus or emphasize the background, but I do see like a little bit of greens in there, see a little bit of blue, and then of course at the very top left of the image you've got that bokeh, but those are obviously less important. Oh, so Ashley is telling that cardigan is from a small business called Bozy Babes. Oh, okay, cool. I've never heard of Bozy Babes, but that might be something we can check out when it comes for styling models.
Steven just mentioned something.
Model selected her wardrobe. Okay, cool.
It was natural light.
Very good. Reflector? Yeah, I can tell. This when I saw the image, I knew that it was a natural light shot. But it's always good because when people are doing natural light, you don't know if sometimes you can tell when they use a reflector. But look, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I don't see
You can see Steven in the photo.
I see Steven. He looks like he's throwing the finger at us,
really
guys. He's like, I'm gonna take this shot, throw the finger at them, see if they catch that. So it doesn't look like Steven used
silver sided reflector.
Okay, so side. That's why you can't see it. It's probably So I see like the lighters are probably brighter on this side because I see the shadows casted on this. I know because of the the position of her arm, she's going through her hair. But I do like that this, it just looks so natural. The lighting is really, really soft. Now going into, I'm going to talk a little bit about the skin retouch, man. I'm guessing, I don't know if you use both frequency separation or dodge and burn or a combination of the two. So I'm looking at it. I really love the retouch because I think I had mentioned this earlier. A lot of people that use frequency separation get really excited, especially if it's a new technique that they're incorporating into their workflow. So I know it's easy to get a little bit excited and overdo it, but a lot of times, you make the skin look a little bit too. Okay, so it's a combination of very good. So that's why you see so much texture. I know that when you're using frequency separation, it's a little bit more destructive than local and global dodge and burn, and combining those two techniques when you're retouching skin. It's super natural. I love that you can see like all the her pores. There's a slight imperfections in the skin. You still left all that texture, and that just makes the image feel even more natural than it already does with the lighting that you ended up using. Now, and that's kind of going with like the colors that you chose. I mean, I know you said that the model selected her wardrobe, but the skin retouch is fantastic. I kind of like that her head is slightly tilted, and it's kind of just and her arms. I mean her arms, like her face is a little bit slightly tilted, so that's adding a little bit more structure, I think, to the image. And I love that her lips are parted. This is kind of what I wanted to see in the image before. Like I said, when you're dealing with a model, and I know sometimes you have to communicate with the model to make sure that she's doing that, because it's not a very natural thing when they're posing. It's either going to be a smile or something with a little bit more serious face. But when you're working with models that have more experience, you see that more often, because I feel like that's a dynamic part of delivering emotion and capturing it through your lens. But I really love the expression on her face. I love, like I said, I do love like the way her head is tilted. I'm kind of curious. I know this is a close up, and I'm sure this probably would have been. Okay, so very good. That's why it's so sharp. That's a lens that I also have. So the Zeiss 50 1.4, super sharp lens, not as sharp as the 55, but it's pretty up there. It's a great lens. I like what you did with this image as a whole. And the last thing that I want to say about the about the image. He's like, just shut up already, man. Just shut up. The last thing that I was gonna say about the image is I was talking about the lips, and just kind of I would be kind of curious to see. I know it's a close up, but I'm kind of curious if what the image would have looked like if so she's facing that way, so the right arm is going through the hair. If she had lifted her left hand and kind of just had it right here, sure. That way you can see both hands. In the image, and it would have been kind of like, I think it would have added a little bit more mood to the image by just having it, and nothing like where it's just like here, but it's more of just kind of like really subtle, very natural.
Can you show them again, Marco?
I'm gonna take off my shirt and show you guys what.
I like how Marco.
So just like I said, just keeping it really simple, but overall, dude, I think I know you wanted us to be super brutal about it. Other than those little things that I mentioned, I think it's a fantastic image as a whole.
Yeah, I love this image. Yeah. The main things I want to say about this image is like I really, really like it. I just want to see some more contrasts because I feel like you should let I could be completely wrong, but I feel like the shadows were lifted or something, because I feel like it's a good exposure throughout. But I want to see the exact opposite, just because I love that extra contrast, and I feel like the colors could be reworked to make it like a lot more richer in terms of color. So I would love to see how that would have looked at.
Push that color.
But
that's me, because I'm weird. I'm weird like that.
And the only thing, like, I'm trying to find only the bad things, because he said all the great things that I agree with. And I feel like there's a little bit of different color on the top next to her wrist. The jacket is changing color, or her sweater is changing color. So I would probably tune it to kind of blend well with the rest of the sweater. And aside from that, I think.
What about the hand? Do you think it's kind of like a little bit desaturated?
Yeah. I felt like I was thinking like maybe the hand on the top of the head. Like I was thinking first like maybe it would dodge it, but it's already pretty bright, and you don't want to distract it from the face. But yeah, the colors could be more in tune with the rest of the skin tones, like the face. But yeah, I think that's the main things that I had to do with the wrist, the sweater color, the hand color, and the hand. The color of her hand, and adding more contrast and trying to go for more richer colors would be something that those are all the things that I would like to see. Like I would like to see this file and just like mess with it and to see what I could do with it. But yeah, I agree with all the stuff that he said so far. So
I taught Steven everything.
Yeah.
yeah, here you go.
Uh-huh.
It's an excellent image.
All right.
It's a good image.
So Steven. Oh man. Okay. So it's hard for me to come up with stuff now that Marco and Joey have come up. I mean, honestly, I think you did a heck of a job with the close-up. I suck at close-ups, by the way. I am not good at close-ups at all. The one thing that did stand out to me that Joey and Marco didn't mention is, and this, I could be wrong with this, by the way, okay, is just be careful with the eyes. I feel like maybe you brought a little bit too much exposure, so I feel like the eyes have like this kind of shine that's a little bit too much, and I think that they're glowing just a little bit too much for me. I could be wrong. Marco and Joey might disagree with me.
I agree.
Do it, Steven. He said he could send me the TIFF.
I can send you guys the TIFF if
Send
you
me
want.
the TIFF.
Okay, yeah, send us the TIFF. The only thing that I would have done in post-processing, Steven, would be I would have burned a little bit of the hand where the sweater's at, just so that my eyes still kind of go more towards her face. It's not a big thing at all. You don't even have to do it, but I would have just burned it just a little bit, brought down the exposure just a little bit. I like that you added the framing. The color adds this kind of interesting framing for you. It actually kind of almost forms this triangle, which is really, really cool. So I would have just burned that just ever so slightly. But overall, man, I mean, you did a hell of a job with the dodge and burn. I want to commend you on your dodge and burn skills. That's my weakness. I always tell Marco, like, Marco's dodge and burn and Joey's is like 10 times better than mine. Like, I'm not that good at it. And it came out really... Hey, Francisco Hernandez is in the house. Actually, let me put it on here.
We have a comedian here.
But overall, Steven, good job, man. You know what I would love to see, man, is I would love to see more shots from this shoot. You know what I mean? To see what else you got. Because this one is solid, but I also want to see, did you get another good image? You know, how many good ones did you get? But overall, man, hell of a job, dude. And I would look forward to seeing more images from you in the future, man. We're going to do critique number 4. And feel free to send more, man.
I like the expression. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yes, the expression is fantastic. It's spot on.
point.
Yeah, it's on point. Heck yeah, it's awesome.
Hey, just out of curiosity, Steven, before you move on, how long did the dodge and burn take?
Sorry,
on
man.
this?
Go for it, dude.
Just the local. I know the global is a little bit quicker, but just out of curiosity,
Yes.
how long did the local dodge and burn take on this image? Because Eli's right, it's a fantastic. It's not overdone. It's an awesome skin retouch, man.
I have 2 more sets for this. Gotcha.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. All right, guys, so we got 3 more, and we're done. We've been live for for almost 2 hours.
About like last time.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end.
The time's not accurate because we were live for about 10 minutes or so.
Oh, that's true.
And we were waiting for people to come in. All right. So, who is this from, Mr. Jiplas?
So the next image is from Chris Minter.
Chris? Can I see that real quick? Oh, it's with a K. I remember that.
Yeah.
Chris.
K-R-I-S.
Like winter.
M-I-N-T-E-R.
Okay, and his name should be popping up. There we go. Boom.
All
All right, rock and roll.
Who wants to take a stab at it first?
Let's have Joey go first.
Hey.
Joey hasn't gone first yet.
Okay, I'll go first.
Dude, he can be in multiple places at once. He's in line. He's over here.
In regards to this image, I really like the expression and the vibe, the energy that comes through the image. And with that same energy, I feel like it's kind of like a commercial shot. Like it could be like blown up, 5 feet tall in like Target or
Like
something.
Target. I was about to say
yeah,
the
the
Target.
Target, right? Yeah.
That's what Target right
The
there.
background is a solid color, and that reminds me of Target. I do like the cropping because there's people out there that are like, oh, don't crop the hair or don't crop the head. but I actually like this crop a lot. The fact that you didn't get the entire head, it just brings more intimacy to the face. So yeah, the main thing I want to highlight is just the vibe and the energy coming through. The lighting is excellent. I do like the catch lights. I know that some people might not like the catch lights, but I like it.
I like it.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the color. And now that I'm seeing it closer, I feel like there's like either a light, a reflector, and then something else on the left side for fill, or maybe 2 lights and a fill. But excellent lighting, excellent energy. The retouch is nice. Again, this is something that I always aim for, is a little bit more extra contrast, just because I feel like it makes the colors more richer. So I would feel like that would look a little bit interesting. Only thing maybe is just maybe darken just a tad bit the hand on the left side, camera left side, just because I feel like it's competing for attention exposure wise to the face. But aside from that, I really, really like this image as is. It's really nice. Yeah, the retouch is subtle but excellent. So
I'll go next. Give Jiplas a break here.
God, he's bad.
All right. The what?
I tell you,
The what?
He's gonna use the restroom.
I'm not going to the bathroom.
Oh, you're gonna go. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Break time.
Break time.
There you go. I'll be back.
I was like, why are you guys laughing? Okay, so I love the framing, and I think Javi had talked about that. I think that's like super spot on. Marco says this all the time. He's a big hands guy. Great use of the hands. Great use of the expression. There's just so many good uses of framing and shapes in this image. The eyes are glowing. The catch lights are perfect. The skin retouching is great. I'll be honest, there's really not a lot of feedback that I would give on this image when it comes to negative. I would say that great choice on the color of the background. I don't think that Joey mentioned that, but I love the color choice. I think that really adds to the expression. So, so overall, I mean, great image. One of my weaknesses is shooting studio work, and this is a shot. If I took this, I would be very, very happy if I got an image like this. Steven said, I sent you all the DM with the 2 other images from the set. Be sure to check your DMs. Cool, man. We'll check it out, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, thank you, Steven. Appreciate that, man. And so, yeah, man. You're next, Mr. Jiplas.
Man, I honestly don't have a lot to say
there's
about
not
this
a lot
image.
of negatives, man. This one's a hard one.
So here's like one of the good examples where I would just totally bypass the general rule of cutting, body parts. To me, that like if you would have I don't know if the image would have been the same if you had the whole hands in there. I felt like the crop or the actual way the shot came out and what you chose to do with it, those hands just really work so well. It adds so much character to the image. This is like one of those images that just pops out at you. And if I had seen something like this, like scrolling, through my Instagram feed or even on Facebook, in one of the lighting groups that we're all part of, this is one of those images that would have caught my attention right away because it has so much character. I love her expression. The eyes are the eyes are smiling as much as she is, and it just really just takes you to like a different place. And I agree with Eli, the use of the background. The color choice, it's kind of like a magenta, I don't know, would you say like a magenta maroon type thing, but it just works so well with her complexion. And at the end of the day, the only thing that I would say, and I think Eli and Joey already said this, maybe the exposure on the right hand or the left side of the frame could have been darkened just a little bit, but that's being very picky.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it is still a very fantastic image. I love everything about it, and I don't really have anything negative to say. So,
Where's the BTS?
BTS. Should we require the BTS?
That's interesting. I like seeing the BTS just because.
You know what? It would be cool to like
on
guess.
the next one.
On the
Yeah,
next one.
yeah.
Well, people have already sent for critique 4 because we didn't fit everybody in. So that's something maybe to think about.
The behind the scenes challenge.
BTS would be cool. Yeah. All right. So we got 2 more.
Ooh.
My
And
man Bao.
Who is this? So I can put their name on
Image
there.
number 12, Bao Tran. I
Oh, yeah, he was here earlier.
he was in here earlier.
I don't know if he's still here.
I'll message him on Instagram.
Oh, okay, yeah, message him on Instagram, dude. That'd be cool.
Yeah, hopefully you're still here, man. If you're not, Mr. FJ is going to send you a message so you can jump in. Okay, well, thank you, my man, for the submission. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to say about this image is, like, to me, I feel like when you're using hats, as cool as they do present their own challenges. Just because you don't want the hat covering too much of the model's face. You don't want it to interrupt or in any way impact your ability to get the catch lights of the image. So it's its own battle, and I know that using a hat as cool as they are, it does present unique challenges, especially when you're either shooting, doing close-ups like this, or even like full body shots. But I really love the way the colors in this image all come together. I know that her wardrobe is all black, including the hat, the shirt that she's wearing underneath that leather jacket. But I love that you still have color in the image. So you have the red coming from the wall that she's leaning against, and then I see some slight hues of blue in the background as well as yellow, and then of course you've got this large bokeh ball right here. So that would be kind of my thing of like, when I first saw the image, my eyes kind of went straight to that. So I would have, when retouching the photo, I would have either maybe tried to take it out entirely, or at least lessen the brightness by using, whether in camera raw, or just maybe lessen the luminosity a little bit and do layer mask, or just darken it by using a curves adjustment layer. But like I said, I do love the way the overall colors just kind of work all together. So pose wise, I love that it's a close-up, but I love that you can see both of the hands. I know that I've done this pose a couple of times, and I've never really felt like, hey, I nailed it. Like, because I know this is also kind of a hard pose to do, just because there's one hand up, and it looks like she's kind of pulling down on that hat to kind of add a little bit more character to the image, and then the left hand is underneath the right, so you're kind of getting something like that. But I think you did a good job, with what you were working with. This is another example of where, like, I would have, like, she's got awesome eyes. Like, the color of her eyes are, so phenomenal. It's kind of like that bluish greenish color. And like my eyes also correct, but that if this were not here, like just covering that bokeh element right there, my eyes go straight to hers. So I feel like you did a good retouch. It's not overdone. I do think that you probably did like a little bit of minor adjustments in bringing out the color and the clarity, but overall it's very well done. And the only other thing, I think this is like one of those other images that might have benefited a little bit from having the model separate her lips or just part them just a little bit, ever so slightly, and then just kind of adding that a little bit more emotion, a little bit more expression to the overall image. I like that I think most of the hair is on one side, looking like I see like a little bit of hanging over here, so that looks really cool. But yeah, man, I love the colors in the image. I think you did a good job. Let me just zoom in here really quick on the skin. Segura. Okay, so that's the only thing that I'm gonna say about the image. It does look like you used frequency separation, and I think it's just a little bit too smooth, or it could have been one like what Eli was talking about earlier, maybe one of those actions that you can buy for smoothing the skin. I just feel like it's a little bit too smooth, and not natural or 100% natural looking, which I know I've done this before. It's easy to get carried away. But other than that, I think you did a fantastic job. And the last thing that I was going to say is the hand. So her right hand tends to be, I think it looks a little bit overexposed. So you might have wanted to maybe darken that a little bit so it's not brighter than her face.
Okay. So the main critique I have for this image is that I'm looking at the image and I love it as is. I always try to, like, if I was doing a photo shoot, I would take this image and then try to vary it up to see if that works better or not. The things that I would do to vary up this image with the same kind of pose with the hand and the other hand kind of like creating like a box of a frame, is I would try to see if she can like shift her shoulders to be like a little bit one higher than the other. I would love to see maybe that one that's closer to the wall higher than the one that's away from it. It's just to see how that would look just a little bit. And I would also probably have the hand just to be a little bit higher to kind of create more of an acute angle between her arm rather than was it like an obtuse angle. Mm-hmm. So just to see how that would look like. And I could be wrong. You know, I'm bad when it comes to culture, but like, is it like the Rolling Stones with the lips? Or
that's what it looks like.
The shirt. Mm-hmm. I would love to see that more because I think they would go well with just a tad bit more because and her lips. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like if I saw a little bit more of that, because then it would work well because of how her lips are nice and red as well. And maybe if she were to lift her chin or just the hat a little bit higher to provide a little bit more of an angle, because this is an exaggeration, but I get the like bowler hat kind of vibe with the hat. So just providing a little bit more of an angle would kind of like eliminate that kind of that similarities between a kind of like a more of a circular hat. But I do like the retouch. I do feel like it's a little bit tad overdone. So I would just kind of just lower the opacity of the skin retouch. And the last thing I would have to say is just the exposure in her hands is a little bit bright, and I would go ahead and just darken that a bit.
Damn it, that's what I was gonna say, Joey. Now I have nothing to say. I was like, okay, they haven't mentioned the hand yet. They haven't mentioned the hand. I was like, damn it.
He hasn't mentioned the hand.
Yeah. So that was the one thing that stood out to me was just the exposure on the hand. Now, obviously, there's nothing you can do about that because obviously you have the light camera right. So yeah. So obviously there's nothing you can do. Like. In the raw file, you're gonna have to do that in post. In other words, like to get that exposure down. Like they mentioned before, I agree with them with the skin retouch. It's a little bit like it looks good. Just tone it down just a little bit. Just tone it down maybe like 20% a little bit, and you're solid, man. You're solid. Maybe even think about adding a little bit of grain to the skin so it doesn't look so smooth, and that'll help kind of decrease it looking so smooth. So that's another little tip there. I would have liked to see if maybe, like Joey kind of mentioned this, maybe just turn the body so that the shoulders are not just straight. Maybe just turn them a little bit inward so you can kind of get some kind of depth. A little bit more form. That's the only suggestion I would have had. Overall, love the styling, love the jacket, love the hat. The red lips is something that really made the image pop. The bokeh is really awesome. What lens did you use for this, by the way?
She uses the Samyang 85 1.4.
A lot of people are using the Samyang, man. Wow. Yeah. Some people were asking us on the Q&A when we were here with Jeff, and we couldn't answer the question because we haven't used it. I know you've been using it, so I was like, I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the Samyang, Joey, like the 1.4, because people were asking last time.
I like that it provides you a 1.4 lens at a good price. The ones that are similar is the 85 1.8 by Sony.
That's the one that I use.
And then the Sigma Art 1.5 or 1.4. In comparison between those two, the Sigma provides way better. Oh, that's the Zeiss.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's a kind of an old one. You had to adapt that lens.
Okay.
Oh, Sony A mount.
Sony A mount 135. You know, let's stop talking about Sigma because it doesn't apply. But Samyang is just more affordable. And Sigma's stronger build quality. That's why I would go for Sigma if you feel like you need better build quality. Right. But dang, that's a not common lens there.
All right. So we're on to the last image, boys. Last image. All right. I'll go first because then I'm not going to have nothing to say at the very end. Oh, man. Oh, dang. Ooh. Okay. Well, I'll get the name on there in a little bit, the name of the photographer. But man, that's pretty cool. I love. Okay, so the first thing that stands out to me is the color scheme, the cool tones, the blues and the purples. I think it really works in this image. This is either color gels or these are just LED lights. I can't really tell.
He sold the Samyang and bought the 85. It's all good, man.
But I love the colors in this. You know, I don't think that this is strobe. This is natural light, right? This has to be natural light, right? It's super cool. What I'm curious is where this location is because I would love to shoot here, man. This is super awesome. The fact that you have all the patterns. I love the tattoos on the model. I think that adds a nice little character to the to the image.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Super duper.
And not only that, but there's like some lens flare in the front of the photo, which I'm not sure if you use like maybe like a prism like Brandon Wolfel or like a CD. I think that's a nice little touch. I think it definitely adds to the vibe. Trying to look at anything else that really stands out. I'm going to take a look at the post-processing real quick. I'm going to zoom in. I don't see any issues so far. Nothing really stands out to me.
Touch, very clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very clean. Dang. I don't know if you guys are seeing anything that could have been improved here. Maybe, I don't know if the use of the hands is necessary here. I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't think so, because I think that the emphasis on this photo for me is the color.
They could have been introduced to create variety, but for looking at this image, I don't think they were necessary at all.
Right? So, I love it, man. I think the thing that I really love about it is the colors, but also the use of this blurred out element. It's adding, I think without it, it wouldn't add that kind of abstract.
It wouldn't be as powerful as it
Yeah.
is.
So those are my thoughts. I'm gonna add the name up there in a little bit. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm gonna let Marco give it a shot.
Lotfi M Lotfim.
How do you spell it?
Like lot and then fi.
Lot and then M, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna put
So
it
is it me?
Yes.
you're
Okay.
up.
So again, like the fact that I can't think of anything to change is a good sign of a good image, because like I'm really liking how everything is coming together in this shot. I'm trying really hard to find things I would change, and the thing that I think I would do differently with this same setup and everything would be to remove the jacket, because I feel like she has great, interesting tattoos that that you're starting to see on the top of the shoulder. And then it looks like it's gonna be a sleeve, because she is already going kind of far with the neck tattoo. So I would love to see more of the tattoos on the arm.
Definitely.
That could be a good or a bad thing. It makes you know like the tattoos that are going on her arm don't really match the rest. So then maybe cover that up. But again, I don't know at this point. But I really love the image as is. I honestly can't think of anything else to say other than that minor change, which is again just removing the jacket a little bit more so you can see more of the tattoos on the arm. I love the styling, the fact that the tattoos work well with that hairstyle, and then her expression works well with the rest of the image as well. It's honestly very, very solid work. I'm curious if these colors were straight out of camera, or they were like maybe this was a red and this was like a yellow and you just adjusted them. If that was the case, then you did an excellent job with the colors, because I love the colors so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
You did.
Man, I don't know if I can have
It's
anything
good-
else
it's
to
like
say.
good colors.
It is such a fantastic image. I think kind of like all the things that we've talked about up to this point, kind of are present in this image as well. Talking about the arms, but I feel like they're not necessary here. Although I agree with Joey, I would have liked to see a little bit of more of that, the tattoos, because it does look like, looking at the image as it is and the one that was submitted, it does look like she probably has a sleeve there, which I think would have added a little bit more dynamic to the image. It would have been a lot more character, and it would have been a lot like more representative of who she is as an artist and somebody who has art on her body.
She's a tattoo artist or
Yeah,
something.
she could be. She
Yeah.
could be. So that could have turned into its own little concept shoot if she is like a tattoo artist. But it does look like she does. She is a big fan of the work of art on the body. So that would have been something cool to see. Expression, I don't have any criticism about it. It's right on. She just kind of looking straight into the camera. And it's good. She's got that that little separation between the lips that we've been talking about the past couple of photos, and the colors. They're just so fantastic. And I think that honestly the color choice, I don't know if they were those were the colors that were actually present where you were shooting,
Cool tones, man.
or if you made some adjustments in Photoshop. Regardless of which situation it was, you did a fantastic job with the post processing. It's very natural. It's not overdone in any way. I don't feel like the colors are oversaturated. It just feels like everything blends really well. So excellent job, man. I'm really jealous of this shot.
I just wanted to say, the only thing I would say, like, send me the tip for this as well. But I think it would look really interesting to see some heavy-handed dodge and burn.
Yes, man.
Just to
that
see
would've been cool.
how it could
Add the
really
depth.
add depth and really come through. Because right now it feels like it's very nice and natural, but I want to see the exact opposite as well, like punching through.
On the other extreme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing. Send me the TIFF.
I'm gonna put ourselves back on full screen.
Yeah, but other than that,
Excellent.
thank you everyone for submitting your images.
A lot of interesting images.
We had a really great collection today, and we have really good collections in the past. But you know, we appreciate you guys trusting us and giving us feedback. We're by no means experts, but we do love to give feedback on images that get submitted. So
where do you
really
submit them to? Where do you submit them to?
Oh yeah, I know. We had a couple of people. So if you guys want to submit, you submit through infantecritique@gmail.com. And what's been cool is that with all this practice that we've been doing live, the lives are hopefully getting better. I hope you guys are seeing that it's getting a little bit better.
They're like, no.
I know it still sucks. No, but we're actually I just purchased another microphone. So we're going to have 2 mics, so we won't have to be like pushing the microphones back and forth. So it's going to be a little bit easier for all of us to talk all at once. So super excited for that. That should be coming in on Thursday. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add. Any end comments before we shut this down?
Keep sending them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with them. Yes.
Keep submitting their images. We'll probably, hopefully, once the next mic comes in, hopefully we can do. I know Joey's going to be going out of town, but hopefully
we'll wait for when Joey comes
hopefully
back.
we can do another episode. It would be episode 4 of the critique series. So we really enjoy doing it, and we'll just
Did I get that right?
just wait
Yes.
into there you go, infantecritique@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep submitting your images if you want to be part of the part of the YouTube live,
Not that one.
and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Awesome images.
We have curfew, by the way, so we gotta.
Oh, yeah.
So we gotta get.
I forgot about that.
We have curfew, so we gotta get home.
Oh yeah. Alrighty, guys. We gotta go. They gotta go.
We gotta go soon.
I gotta bounce.
All right. Peace out.
Bye, guys.